I don't know. I didn't have too many expectations, to be quite honest with you. Like and the truth is like, no, I didn't know, but I knew we were touching on something new, and I knew that Isaac had written something really beautiful and maybe never before seen. And so I was happy that we were making that, and I didn't really think too much about how that would cascade out. It's more happenstance. I think for me, I obviously love 봉준호 감독님 and 이창동 감독님 and all those. I'm a huge fan of Korean cinema, so I kind of look at them as their own artists, and if they'll have a space for me, like I'll gladly go there. I think for me, the reason why I've been drawn to Korea and making projects like this is just because those are usually the spaces in which I'm allowed to be kind of a fuller character and fuller person. Sometimes I think when I do get asked to be in part of more American productions, the limitations are on the page about like who I can be and what I can express. And so for me, I've just been trying to expand my own thing. My wife is from there. And so not from Oklahoma, but from Arkansas. And Tulsa's only about like 2 hours away from Fayetteville, Arkansas, that my wife is from. And so, it wasn't anything particularly new. I'm from Michigan too, and parts of Oklahoma look like Michigan too. So to answer your first part of the question, no. I immigrated here when I was 4. And so I was very aware of the move. And from that point on, my parents kind of really only spoke Korean in the house. So we just spoke Korean in the house the whole time. They didn't really like demand for me to know the culture because I kind of just like accepted it anyway. That's kind of the way that I grew up. For me, there wasn't really a tension between like my Koreanness at home and my Americanness. It was more of a tension for me of like where I felt more free and comfortable. I didn't feel that free or comfortable at school, but I felt much more free and comfortable at like church, Korean church. And that was more the divide for me than it was like a war between like the Koreanness that my parents were imposing onto me. And in terms of like, did I model this after my father? Not really, but I did need to like excavate and understand like the ways in which I misunderstood my own father and the ways that I projected what I thought he was, and seeing him as the human being that he actually is. I think, in Korean culture and in just general life, it's easier to understand each other through like ideas and like images and like expectations. And so my dad becomes just my father. And like, that feeling when you like look at your dad and you stare at him for a while, and then like all of a sudden, like he's talking to somebody else, and then he looks like a kind of a different person for a second.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's what I had to do on like a larger level of just like seeing him as the human that he is instead of like 그냥 아빠. And that was hard because I didn't realize like how much I needed him to like just be appa. So that was the work for me.
So you were different from them?
Yeah.
You were. Okay.
Yeah. I'll be honest with you, I don't know if I have a model. I think I've never really been afforded that. I think people that I gravitated towards initially, I think like, I'll be honest, when I was a young kid, I really loved Will Smith. He was like the first person that felt like I could like gravitate towards, that didn't like represent me, but like I understood him. I think James Dean is somebody that I really understand, especially in terms of like how I built Jacob. Song Kang-ho is someone that I really admire, just because of like him. He's such a seminal figure in Korean cinema. And then beyond that, I'm just kind of carving out my own space, and it's been kind of strange to do so, to be quite honest. No, actually, I've been mostly doing independent film. I've actually never done a studio film before.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, I gotta do.
Except for Okja, but actually, Okja is. I guess that's a studio film because it was made by Netflix. That was the closest I got to a studio film.
Okay.
I think there's a lot of parts for me. I don't know if there's a specific standout. You know, it's hard for me to like contextualize it that way because there's so many experiences I had in watching and being in these scenes. You know, the exchange where the barn is burning. I think with Yeti and I, we had really wonderful. At least I had a really wonderful time working with her. Um, we told like she told so many things true to me, and um, that was really enlightening for me. No, I think in that particular situation, I saw somebody that was saying things that I think people needed to hear, new ideas and new perspectives about things that I think were affecting people, and I really just wanted to amplify his message, help him amplify like his
Right.
message about it. Um, Thank you for the support and thank you for all the love. And I hope you get to watch Minari. It's a labor of love from all of us.